Hello friends, today we will discuss the topic nature-human interactions. The main focus will be on to understand the concept of nature, to analyze the importance of man in human-environment interface, to discuss about the use of various artifacts during course of evolution, to understand the changing concerns of human-environment interface. Dear friends, the humans represent the most developed stage of life form on earth. They, however, appear on earth at a considerably late stage in a long process of evolution. This process of evolution began with the formation of earth some 4600 million years ago and involved the evolution of both life forms and nature. Many living organisms have come and gone in this process, and many changes in the nature have simultaneously occurred. A closer examination of this process reveals that there has always existed a close relationship between life forms and the nature surrounding those life forms. With the emergence of the humans, this relationship assumes a qualitatively different form. Admittedly, human interactions have been a complex process and involves a basic understanding of the different dimensions of a nature as well as the unique ability of humans to influence and mold the nature in tune with their own needs. It also involves a similar understanding of human flexibility to the peculiarities and pressures of nature. The relationship between humans and nature is a widespread, ongoing and reciprocal process. In the current scheme of events, the world at a standstill due to an unprecedented pandemic, the worth of the environment and the necessity to preserve it has made us vigilant than ever before. Over the last 2 decades, we witnessed a tremendous climate change due to increasing greenhouse gas emissions. Humans have been trying to manipulate nature, but nature has been in existence since times immemorial and before our initiation on this earth. The environment as an issue was and is omnipresent and universal in the world. Fernand Braudel, a French historian of the Annales school, made a laudable attempt to write a total history of the Mediterranean world, which tells the story of a man in relationship to the environment. Braudel describes this level which exists beneath social structure and political events as a history whose passage is almost imperceptible, a history in which all change is slow, a history of constant repetition, ever-recurring cycles. Dear students, the environment has never been static, unchanging and in equilibrium. In ancient India, changes in ecological elements were a critical part of the human history, as pertinent in the rise and fall of civilization, empires, the patterns of trade and war. Humans long before the end of Ice Age knew fire. Domestication of animals and early agriculture became widespread over the last 10,000 years. Man in ancient India exercises prudence in the using of nature and its resources. The very awareness towards the environment exists in ancient India. On the contrary, it was the urge and the need created by the expanding population, material prosperity and advancing technology which pushed this process of using the nature and its resources to its fullest potentials. As we start on an empirical tour of nature-human interface in the context of the geographical boundaries loosely set by the Indian subcontinent, we will discuss the relationship between human groups and the environments, assuming the character of interchange, that is the reciprocal exchange between humans and the nature, where each influences the other and also gets influenced by the other. Second, the environment of the Indian subcontinent providing a diversity of situations from deserts to regions of high rainfall and from vast alluvial plains to high mountains and rocky tableland. There is also visible a clear divide between North India receiving highly productive soils as a result of continuous process of soil erosion and South India with favored deposits of alluvial material and therefore showing great stability. we have attempted to provide a general picture of the relationship between humans and their environments using a stone artifacts and closes with the rise of modern industrial societies when a market shift in nature-human interface occurs. Now, dear students, what is nature? It is not an easy term to define as it incorporates most of the visible manifestation of geography. Rayward Williams defined nature as the material world itself taken as including or not including human beings. Tracing the history of the term suggests that nature has often been used to describe the countryside, the unspoiled places, as also plants and creatures other than man. Surely, the general sense in which nature has been described relates to the environment, where even the humans have been an integral component. In the context of our debate, thus nature and environment convey nearly the same meaning. In exploring human-environment relationship, we consider the natural conditions and influences that affect and sometimes determine the actions of human groups. Over a long period of time in history, this relationship operates at two different levels. At one level, it employs influence as a widespread ongoing process, and at the other, it acquires the form of relationship of specific human groups to their immediate environments. In the case of the Indian subcontinent, a very wide range of climatic and topographic situations prevail to influence the environment. In the context of the nature-human interface, these environmental changes have had their role in determining the development of human history. Dear students, we shall discuss this interaction in detail in the following sections. First, the man. In providing an identifiable status to man vis-à-vis environment, our objective has been to start at a point where human groups became apparent as a collectively. The main concern here is the understanding about the process of evolution of humankind, as it helps us grasp the simultaneous evolution of man-nature relationship. Till recently, up to the post-Enlightenment era, the concept of divine origin of nature and humans had been in prevalence. The human beings were also subject to an evolutionary process was a theme strengthened by the theory first proposed by Charles Darwin. The evolutionary model had made an important contribution towards our understanding of man as a unique animal. An animal which could adapt to the different natural conditions and most importantly could modify the environment for its survival. The process of human adaptation to environmental conditions was accompanied foremost by the introduction of tools and their use by the primitive man. The significance of tools in the study of evolution of humankind can be realized from the fact that this entire process has been classified in terms of the quality of tools and the nature and quality of the material used in making the tools. Thus, the earliest period in human history, also called prehistory, has been termed as Paleolithic, followed by Meso, Neo, Chalcolithic, Iron Age, and so on. Dear students, to discuss further the man relationship with the nature during this important phase of human activity, we will focus on the artifacts. The human beings are endowed by nature to be reflective and active. Their biological evolution has given them the capacity to establish adaptive relationship with nature. We know from archaeology that the first artifacts made by the humans were of stone and had made their appearance more than 2 million years ago. This had marked the beginning of Paleolithic culture. Like other animals, the initial mode of sustenance for humans was hunting and gathering. Most of these artifacts were made with the objective of assisting them in their quest for food, hunting and gathering. Stone tools were used primarily for cutting plants, digging root crops, scraping wood and obtaining honey. There were two broad groups of stone tools for the period. One, core tools and second, flake tools. Core tools were those tools which were made from the larger blocks of stone, while as flake tools were those tools which were made from small bits or flakes. The most important core tool was hand axe, used for the processing of meat and did reflect a greater physical dexterity. In the making of the stone tools, here was a definite evidence of the beginning of man's attempt to adapt to the nature by applying this mind and making use of locally available material for better functioning. The appropriation of natural conditions was still confined to the most rudimentary stage, yet the act was very significant. It heralded the process of modification of natural conditions for better management of natural resources. The Paleolithic developments were followed by the growth of microlithic tools, and this stage is termed as Mesolithic culture. In addition to stone, we now find more variety of the use of materials for making microliths. Bone, animal horn, bamboo and wood make an appearance. The quality of the artifacts produced during this period is suggestive of an improved technological competence. It is logical to assume that such competence would also have helped grow several other skills of working on materials other than stone, example wood, bamboo, etc. The knowledge of using fire for clearing grasslands and forests along with these additional skills was a definite advance over the previous stage in so far as the management of natural resources was concerned. Dear students, early rock art examples became available around this time. An examination of this image in these specimens reveals that people had grown acutely aware of the animal world by this period and had begun to exhibit evidence of seeking safety, even if only temporarily, under rock shelters, mounds and other natural locations. This should be seen as a significant advancement in the nature-human interface. This was the start of the process of domesticating animals and harnessing their energy for the benefit of humanity. The reality was that despite these advancements, humans were still, in a very real sense, dominated by their surrounding environment and were therefore helpless against it. The close relationship with the environment was fostered by the activities such as hunting and gathering animals and plants for food, lighting fires for cooking, warmth and protection, perhaps felling trees to make further wooden artifacts, perhaps also burning grasslands and forests to facilitate their hunting activities or improve the grazing of their favored food animals. Now, dear students, we will be talking about the social animal. The relationship between nature and the man was redefined with the advent of agriculture. Till the beginning of the agriculture, the source of food had only been naturally available, and man had no control over these sources. An important contribution of agriculture has been the cultivation of cereals. The fact that the shelf life of cereals is very long, whereas fruits and meat have limited shelf life, must have added immensely to human capabilities. It is also significant to note that this property of cereals encouraged accumulation that was one of the principal causes for the social stratification to emerge, and with it a complex society to emerge, many different communities existing within and interacting with each other. The transition from the hunter-gatherer stage to the agriculture stage was a long-drawn process. The development of technology or tools to increase the production was also a gradual process, and it was only after the development of irrigation technology that agriculture acquired a key role in food production. With the growth of population, however, man was forced to migrate to less favorable locations, necessitating the development of irrigation facilities that demanded larger social participation and better skills of management. Dear students, food security and greater control over agriculture enabled man to have some spare time, as agriculture had been a seasonal activity. At the same time, demand for better tools for the agriculture and technology for the irrigation to ensure greater production, as well as the relatively shortage of raw material for tools, forced men to look for other sources of materials. This gave rise to the use of metals and their extraction through metallurgy. The discovery of metallic ores once again liberated man from the dependence on nature. The major advantage of metal tools or stone was their reusable character. Stone tools once broken could not be used again, whereas metal tools could be remolded. An important feature of metallurgy had been the requirement of highly specialized knowledge and expertise, thus making it a full-time occupation. Such specialists could be sustained with the help of available agriculture surplus. In this process, we clearly see the emergence of a section of population that was not directly involved with the process of food production, yet was able to sustain itself on the labor produce of others. Dear students, the parasitic character of this section of population had in fact given rise to the possibility of sustaining solely on the basis of acquisition of special skills without having to participate directly in the process of agriculture production. The character of the agriculture-based societies could now be defined in terms of complex social formations having stratified social and occupational groups within. The growing ability to manage the nature for social needs allowed agriculture societies to start systematic exploitation of natural resources for the benefit of the larger community, giving, in turn, rise to socio-political economic hierarchies. In this process, a gradual alienation of a man from the immediate environment was quite perceptible. It should be noted here that though the emergence and subsequent growth of agriculture societies was a gradual and steady process indicating man's control over nature, there were still numerous instances of the vagaries of the immediate environments affecting this growth and thus creating troughs and peaks in the graph of agricultural development in place of an imagined smooth line only indicating consistently onward march. Dear students, the few archaeological sites that have been investigated in detail yield interesting information. The earliest site is at Mehrgarh, located on the Bolan River in Baluchistan. The down cutting and lateral movements of the distributaries of the Bolan are possibly the outcome of the natural instability of the region and due to the pressure on the environment caused by human activities such as harvesting grain, collecting firewood, felling trees and herding animals in their immediate locality and in the mountainous areas that form the headwaters of the Bolan River. Almost similar is the case of cities of Indus civilization. A point of great significance here is that the return to rather more arid conditions like the present appears to coincide approximately with the collapse of Mohenjo-daro and apparently also with the failure of the wider infrastructure of the Indus urban world. Now, dear students, we will be discussing the changing concerns in the light of human-nature interface. We have here been describing the nature-human interface in the context of human adaptation to the limits determined by the nature. Till the advent of agriculture, the relationship between man and nature was highly tilted in favor of nature, where man was mostly the recipient of the kindness of the nature. Tools of the lithic ages like Paleolithic, Mesolithic or Neolithic were basically instruments of facilitation towards the compassion of nature. Man had to manage with the subsistence offered by the nature and could do little to influence the processes or patterns of nature. The subsistence pattern of this age was termed as hunters and gatherers, and lifestyle was nomadic. The society was moving from simple social structure to a complex social structure gradually. A fully manifest complex social structure emerged with the advent of agriculture that helped generate surplus and began the process of urbanization. Up to this time, the relationship between the man and nature was to a considerable extent determined by the harshness of nature to existing levels of technology. A qualitative and epoch-making shift in the nature-human interface became evident with the onset of industrial age. The level of technology of industrial age liberated man from physical labor and introduced the exploitation of abiotic sources of energy that replaced human and animal energy. Since ancient past, thermal energy had been used in direct application. But during industrial age, it was used to mechanize tools. Industrial age introduced the conversion of thermal energy to mechanical energy, hence expanded the possibilities of its exploitation. The ever-increasing demands had also led to the search for newer forms of energy and to the discovery of hydrocarbons, that is coal, petroleum products, etc., as their principal source. The introduction of non-renewable sources of energy redefined the relationship between nature and man, and the concept of the conservation of natural resource came into existence. A phenomenal growth in the production possibilities and abundant availability of finished goods were two major features of industrial age. The replacement of animate forms of energy with the inanimate forms presented huge possibilities of harnessing natural resources. The technological advancement facilitating better and commercial use of newer forms of energy expanded the demand for raw materials as also the markets for finished goods. Dear students, another area where a major impact had occurred due to an extensive use of energy was that of agricultural production. Increased productivity and food security gradually led to a sizable increase in population. Due to the extension of cultivation and population, there was now a major strain on forests and other natural resources. The magnitude of this growth in the 18th century was fraught with serious implications. Braudel has attempted to define it in terms of an ecological watershed, that is, the end of a natural regime that was determined by the characteristics of pre-industrial societies. What was shattered, wrote Braudel, with the 18th century was the biological ancient regime, a set of restrictions, obstacles, structures, proportions and numerical relationships that had here been the norm. The relationship of harmony and the tactic of coexistence within nature now gave way to human endeavor to completely harness and exploit the natural resources. The ever-increasing mechanization of even day-to-day activities increased the demand for energy to new heights. An almost reckless use of energy sources of the fossilized form and blind growth of industries of all kinds give rise to the problems of environmental pollution. Dear students, we are today faced with serious environmental threats like the global warming, climate change, etc. Another major cause of concern in this regard has been the development of materials not naturally available in the world, that is polymers. The chemical revolution of 1930s and 40s developed an artificial material that was not biodegradable, thus difficult to destroy and decompose. The production of non-natural radioactive substance for energy production has been a major scientific and technological development, but again the decay or the proper and cost-effective decomposition of residue has been a major technological failure. Dear students, while according to the importance to the role of new technologies in the portrayal of a comprehensive picture of human-environment interactions, we must not neglect the socio-political consideration. Until 1700th century, the rights and rewards of the exploitation of the natural world lay largely in the hands of an elite aristocracy. The democratic revolutions of the late 17th century include the American Revolution of 1775 to 76 and the French Revolution of 1789 to 1799 triggered a restructuring of the framework of society throughout most Western societies. Dear students, with this change came increasing access of individuals to productive resources and an increased ability to use them for improving economic and social status. The legitimate rights of exploitation of nature were now extended to individuals at large in society. The Western system of environmental exploitation was thus separated widely, so that it became the operational system even in areas where the basic philosophical view of human and nature was quite different. Dear students, human acts were henceforth seen as socially constructed, and man got located at the center of creation. As a result, the relationship between nature and man was redefined. The breakdown of biological regime led to an exponential growth in human population. These are few concerns that tend to redefine nature-human interface. We, however, cannot afford to remain limited to these developments in the name of preserving a pristine man-nature relationship. We must be open to new perspectives in our understanding of society and scientific developments. Daniel Botkin says that we must distinguish between merely the persistence of some kinds of life and the maintenance of the biosphere that is desirable to human beings, inherent in it. It is a vital question that nature is not constant and even the change is not constant. Thus, the only way to interact with nature is to enlarge our understanding of environment and its functioning, at the same time to realize the limitation of human capabilities to manage nature according to this wish. Now friends, we can conclude today's lecture with this note that most of the writings on environmental history deal with the interaction between society and environment through the analysis of socio-economic impacts. We now know that interaction between environment and society has also been mediated by the technology, which helps in the appropriation of the environment for social or individual good. It is the level of technological development which influences the extent of human intervention in the functioning of environment and determines the nature of human comprehension of their environment. Thank you.